Hello there, YouTube. Well, it's January 27th, 2022, and there's no engine. Where did it go? Well, it's at the machinist. You know, I'll talk about that in another video. But in this video, this is about the 560SL cylinder head disassembly. I want to just like get right into that video, but you know, before I do, I want to refresh my thing. I already know that I have more subscribers, which I'm really thankful for that. You know, I'm very thankful for that. So right now I have 45 subscribers, so thank you guys. Thanks for subscribing. Last time it was 37 in my last video. It's been more than a week. You know, just a little bit. What is it, 9 days or something? 8 or so, 9 days since my last video. But you know, tearing down this the cylinder head is a complex thing. You can see right here there's a lot of stuff we got to do with rocker arms and springs and retainers and clips, and you know, so there's a lot going on in the heads, and there's two of them. So, and I learned from the first head. So the second head, on the driver's side there, I actually did a little bit differently, and it went really smooth. Of course, that head's in a lot better shape, and you'll see. For those wondering, when you see me do this, I have a valve compression tool, and you know, I bought that years ago on eBay. I don't know if you can buy it, so I don't know. Maybe when this is all done, they'll go with the car. I'll talk to you at the end of the video, and we'll see you there. So all I did was just wrap some carpet around here to protect it, and then I attached a bottom plate and I screwed that right down to my desktop. So now, alright, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking out these rocker arms, and then we're going to take out the keepers and the springs and the valve seats. The seals, or not the seats, but the seals, and we'll be replacing the seals and cleaning things up and lapping the valves. This is one of the tools I think I'll be using. We'll take it out, and then these are used to put it back in. And then this is our valve compression tool. Alright, so that's how we're going to compress the springs. And then the way that I'm going to do it, you see I say 1A, and then it goes all the way to 8B. So this is my passenger head, the 86 head. Now, by the way, I'm going to point this out. I noticed there's a little tab broken here. No, we didn't do it. That's how it was. So hopefully that stays on there. We will use a crescent wrench to turn it here when we need to. Since it's not in the car, we don't have to worry about valves falling out or any of those types of things. But we do have to make sure that our lobe is pointing up. See how that one's pointing up, right? So that's pointing up, which means there's little pressure on our rocker arm. And when we push down on the spring, we'll be able to pull this rocker arm right out. And you have to keep everything in its order. So this valve stays with this spring, stays with this keeper, stays with this rocker. All has to stay together. So this is how I'm going to do it, starting from the passenger side. This is cylinder number 1. So we have an intake valve and an exhaust valve. Obviously, I can tell that this is an exhaust. So this would be an exhaust valve because this is my exhaust side. That's where the valve is, right? You can see it. And then the other side would be the intake. Right? So there's your intake, and you see how it lines up on this valve. But the way that I decided to do it is to go with 1A, and then 1B would be the one, and then 2A, 2B, 3, 4, and the other one would be 5A, 5B, and so on. Alright, so let's get started and see how the heck we do this. I've never done it before. I'm going to start here with 1B on this valve. So this has a special foot. Right? This is made specifically for Mercedes. I have not done this yet, so you're going to do it with me. There we go. That fit pretty easily. Let's see how it works. Get on there. No, or I just push it down. How does it work? Let's see. Oh, yeah, that's all you have to do, it looks like. So, yep, looks like it will. Ooh, I did it, guys. I did it! Alright, let's go easy. Or nothing weird happened, or... Cool. Alright, so we know that was A. So this is 1B. I don't see, let's see if you guys can see. I'm backwards. Let's see if I can flip this. There we go. Now I can see it. So it looks good, I think. So let me put this in a baggie. So I guess we'll look inside of here too, but you know, I don't see anything inside of that. So that's 1B. There we are. 1B. There we go. Again, I don't see any wear on this one. Alright. Gosh, I tell you, that's a lot harder than you think. There we go. That feels pretty good. 4A this time. Quite a cool little tool, I think. It works. I'm not going to complain. It also looks beautiful. Nothing wrong with these rockers. Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea to keep your tool on there until you put your rocker in the bag and label it. So this one here is 4A. So now we got our full set of 4s. And don't drop it on the ground or something like that, because if you bang it up, you're going to be buying a new rocker. Alright, this one's close, so we can probably move that. So this is a 22 millimeter that I'm turning the outside. You don't have to have your wheel on there, right? Or your gear, but there we go. 3A. So let's go ahead and just get that ready. Again, looks just beautiful. 3A. There we go. Isn't this a cool tool? I like it. Oh, this one has a divot in it. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but there's a mark right there. And that's actually, you know, you can't wipe that off. Can't wipe it off. There we go. So that's 3B. So let's go ahead and just take care of 1A first. This one here is nice. And this one's nice. Alright, a free. That to me seems like it's tight. I mean, is that how it should be? We're going to find out. We're going to take apart the original head. This is that 86 head, so container. I mean, we're going to come back and take all this apart, but I'm just going to do one thing at a time. I'm going to take all those out, then I'm going to go do the same thing now to the other side. Alright, this is the other side. This is the driver's side, so this is 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm going to start with 5A since 5 is sticking straight up. I'm going to move it inwards. Looks like I can clear. Now I should be able to get it. Alright, that looks nice. Let's go ahead and move it back over. There we go. Now we go. Looks very good. There it is. Yep, that's it right there. B, right? 5, 6, 7, 8. That rocker arm looks good. 5B. There it is. Alright, let's move it a little bit more this way. Looks great. Get on the next one. This has got some scratches on this lobe, I noticed. So let's look at this rocker here. 6B. There we go. Yep, sure enough. It's got a nick in it too. Can you see that? Where is that? It's right on this side right here. I'd like to take it apart and see how things work and how they wear. You know, that would mean that I have to get this taken care of as well. So I might have to grind that or this cam. You know, this has got a line on it too, but I didn't notice anything on that one. We'll have to look at that again. Make it easy for me. There we go. And get me move it in like that. So far this little stand's working for me. This is probably fine. It only has like, I don't know if you can see it, there's only one small little nick on it. Let's get that in the bag. Alright, we've got this one here to go and then that one, so I'm going to go ahead and move it for this one. 7B. This one looks good. And then our final one there is 6A. And these bags aren't just to hold these. So when we go back and we start taking out the retainers and the the springs and all that, they'll go in that bag as well. All right, now our final one is. So I don't know if you should go on the inside of that thing or the outside. You know, outside works too. We haven't tried it that way, so let's try it. I say it still works. Beautifully, and this is very clean too. So this one here is fine. Alright, so there's that for all of those. We can take a quick little look at least at how it actually works. Alright, so there we are. So now let me see, you know, I was kind of curious on how hard this is to turn. This one turns easier than the other one, and I'm going to compare them side by side, but I feel like this one turns easier. So, you know, maybe we got something wrong with that. So we do, you know, have that little scratch that's, boy, you probably have, there you go, you can kind of see that right there. There's a little scratch there. So let me look at this here. This one here, this is the bad one, okay? See that? We didn't see that originally because we weren't there. Alright, so something I didn't know is that the top of that spring has these things in it. Let's see if I can kind of show you what it looks like. But every one of this sits on the top of the valve. Or not the valve, but you know, it sits this way down, so it sits right on the top of where the spring is. And I'll give you a close-up in here. So you can see that one has its top on. You see how it turns, right? And that one doesn't. That's the one we just took off. So they just they just lift off. You can use a magnet thing, I think. That's what I'm going to try to do. So that's 4B. That'll go in our 4B bag. I'm going to use my magnet, you know, just one of these things, you know. Aha! Oh, they do. Okay, so that was this one. I'm going to stick that on there so I get the right one. 1, 2, 3B. I mean, just because, you know, you can look at a schematic or a parts list, it doesn't really tell you how they go together. Let's see if I can get 3A out. Looks like 3A comes out. Oh, I think that's that special tool. Mercedes, in the manual, they say they have a special tool. I wonder if that's to take these things out. Because it's a magnetic tool. Yeah, it comes out. 4A. 1A. 1B. Okay, so now we took care of that. I got to take care of it with the other one too. Only since we're all here, let me move this a little bit more like this, and let's just see what it does. I mean, let's just take a look. I know there's like keepers and stuff like that, but I don't know how anything comes apart. Make sure everything's nice and flat. There we go. Everything's on there. So when I do that, nothing happens. All it does is push the valve down, right? So somewhere along the line, we're going to have to figure out how to hold the valve. While we have it this far, and now that we have those things all out, let's flip this thing around. I want to take a look at something. Actually, I want to look at it just like this. I have the head facing this way. And I thought, you know, we could probably check to see how well things seat. You might even be able to look right inside there and see. Right? And all look good to me on this side. Nothing leaking. I would say the valves don't leak, but I would say those seats are not leaking. I'm just going to let it set for a while. This is a good hour later, and as you can tell, nothing leaked. You know, it's seated nice, so if I just do a basic cleaning of things, we'll pull the valves out, we'll clean off what carbon is on everything as best we can. Maybe do a real quick lap and then reassemble them with some new seals. So that's going to be what we're going to be doing then. So I got to rig something up because I need to hold these valves in while I use the spring compressor. So this is my crude way of doing it. So I just use an existing, you know, bolt, and I just put a nut on the end of it and put a little board through it, and then I'm just using this, you know, one of these stupid things just because it's what I had laying around. And I just went through, you know, this screw here. So then the wood goes through here and holds the valves against there. At least that's what I'm hoping is happening. You know, if this worked, the best way to do it is just to put a plate across it and then set the whole thing down, right? All right, I haven't tried it yet, so I don't know. All right, let's see if I can get in here and... Ooh, it does. All right, it does it. I bet you it's gonna work. I mean, I see it. There's one keeper. This is what they use that little finger for. See, I knew about these things. I didn't know about that top thing. There we go. All right, man, we got our first thing. So let's take a good look at this. Right on the inside, you see that little ring? That's on the top, so it sits down like that. There we go. Now we've documented that. All right, now let's see how this thing all comes apart. See what's all there. Because there's a little, I want to keep it together. Let's get this off of here. And then we'll know exactly what we got, right? We're going to keep it all together and in the same order. Now, this Can you see how I'm taking that off? Alright, well, I mean, you'll be able to tell anyway when you see it. I mean, right, it can only go on. It goes down, right? See how it looks? So there's that. There's an outer spring. I'm going to pull that out next. Yeah, I can do it. I can do it. Alright. It was just getting the right angle. So, I would say it doesn't matter the direction that thing goes down, but it was this way. So, I mean, could you really tell if I flipped it? I don't think so. And it's the same thing. I mean, it looks identical to me on you know, both sides and everything. I do know that there's our seal. There it is. This bottom thing here. I don't know exactly how we'll get it off of there. I mean, I know it'll come off when we take the valve and everything down. I can get it, but it doesn't come past. Okay, so that goes past that seal. I don't know if I can take that out right now with this in the way, but let's see. I mean, this is that tool. I'm not sure I can get in here. You know, I don't want to hurt this. So I'm kind of thinking maybe I won't do this yet. If you have angle ones, you could. They do have ones that have an angle on it. You could probably get those and be able to get it out. Don't you guys love discovering things together? Seeing how things come together. Well, it didn't just fall out, but here it comes. We have pulled our first valve, guys, and all of its components. You know, the edge looks really nice, actually. Right? I'd say that thing looks pretty darn good. Well, we know it's been rebuilt. We just know that it's also been rebuilt poorly. And that's why we're doing all of this. So all the valves are out of this first head, the passenger side, the one that was date stamped 1986. The one they replaced, I mean, look at this, you know, when I get a close inspection, I mean, this is a divot. I mean, like a chunk of metal gone. I'm also seeing that, you know, I bet you this is not even within tolerances. I would say that this is not a great seal. You see the color discoloration? You know, all of this is all fine, all, you know, all up in that area. Right, all of that looks pretty good. This is a little bad. Right, can probably be clean. But this, if you notice, I mean, can you see that? It's metal missing. I don't know. Is this the worst? Look at this. I might find out this is putty and all, who knows. By the time it's all over, this is a big chunk gone. It's not there. The metal's not there. Right? See that? I don't think this head's worth 10 cents. Alright, let's get this cam off of here. Man, I actually broke my wrench on that. Can you guys believe that? My God, you think that thing was tight enough? If I can get this thing to break. See, I'm gonna get stuck in there. in there like this maybe. Alright, got that one. Really? I don't know how to move it. Well, I don't see how it comes apart. Well, the manual doesn't say anything special. Why can't they get it out? Why doesn't it just flip out, right? You'd think it would just come off. This is unbelievable, right? Could almost do it with that. Okay. I have no way to hold this sucker, you know? I mean, I can see it moving. Alright, we're almost there. We almost got it. There's two. Now we should be able to lift. And then this, like I said, this one's supposed to come out of this one. Whoops. There we go. So, alright. This is the cam that we've just taken off. And what I did is, you know, all these can slide off, all these cam bearings. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? And then I even put an arrow on it. Not that it matters, but you see the orientation. When we're looking at it from the outside, this is the exhaust side. So these little tabs, of course, are more on the inside. And that's the direction that they go. Alright, so that's the cam. What this looks like, so this is what we had. See, we had these little pins, and then there's a pin on the back too, so that's why you have to keep on going back. And I wanted to try this little tool. I see how it goes. Perfect. It does, it works. See that? I got it. So if you want to see what the seal looks like, of course we're going to be buying new ones, but you know, the spring part would go up towards the top, and then that would seat on that little pin. So now this other thing should come right out, and it does. Alright, so that's what that looks like. It's got little lines that go on the bottom side, and then it's, you know, got the ridge on here that goes towards the top right here. This is the top, and that's the bottom. Well, the manual says they just come right on out, so not bad. That's one. Anything special? So that's what it looks like. It's nothing, it really is nothing special. It's exactly what you'd think it would be. So that's what it is. I just wiped the oil out of there. You can see there's a hole there, and then we've got this hole on the side. So somehow, obviously, the pressure is regulated in there, but I don't really understand how it works, because I don't see that it really can push up. But maybe it does something different than I realize. I'm going to remove this sensor. We don't need to bring that to the place with us. It's got some carbon on it, it looks like. Okay, so I think that, you guys, is the head broken down. Alright, so I think the next step really is to try to clean all this stuff off, but really I'm going to bring this and have it evaluated, you know, at the machine shop before I do anything. This doesn't look like mating surfaces. we may be okay, but if this is warped and screwed up and all that, I don't know. This one here's a little bit, you know, it's not great, but I think I can probably polish that myself. Same thing with this journal here, this one here. We'll see how it polishes out. If it doesn't, then we'll bring it in. I don't like the wear of this one. This one looks weird. So I might have to bring that to him to evaluate. Alright, this is the driver's side. And what I'm doing is I'm just taking a level and just kind of setting it on there to see, trying to get it kind of level. As you can see, I'm pretty level that way. But I'm going to show you another technique. So I'm going to put some water. If you have access to an air compressor, you can go and try each of the exhaust valves as well as the intake. And the way that you do it, you don't just stick this in the port right here, for example. You don't stick it in and blow it, because weaker springs, of course, would allow that valve to come up. But you can go from the outside like that. I mean, I've got a lot of air on here. This thing's super powerful. I mean, you can see it moving, that thing. I mean, I have to actually hold this thing. Alright, so that's the exhaust, and you can see we didn't blow any air out. We can do the same thing with the intake. Again, you know, I have probably too much air. I should really turn it down. It's just way too much. That's that one. There's that one. There's that one. Let me get a better angle on this one. Another way that you can go about testing it, if you've got an air compressor, we're actually just going to do a light valve job, where we're basically cleaning with carbon off the top here, so we can do a quick little lap, and that's about it. So what I got is I went ahead and I made this. So I can mount this right on here like this, okay? Use the existing bolts that I've got in there, and that'll hold the valves. So when we go turn this thing over, we can just do all the valves all at once. And then we'll flip it over, take these off, and take one valve out at a time. Alright, so now I've got this all attached. And that'll hold the valves and even help protect it. And you notice the way that I have this is that these things fit right in between these cam things. So I don't, break off one of these tabs or something. Alright, that fits nice, and that actually helps hold it. I like it. I thought I'd give you a different angle at this. We're still on the bench, of course, so I've already positioned my tool here, and I have this magnetic pickup tool. I don't really know which hand I want to use, but there we go. Gosh, it's hard to get in there. Yeah, that time I got both keepers. That's a first. So there we go. I got both keepers. So this is 5A. Top cap. Outer spring. Your inner spring. Those valves seated pretty good, or those. Our springs and everything off, keepers and all that, so our valves are free to come out. Alright, so the front of this is a 22 millimeter. It's not that tight though, it shouldn't be, because we didn't do anything. Okay, so pull that off. Tight that is, you know. Alright, so there's our gear. Right, and you remember how that gear goes on. We already talked about that. You know, the one that has the hub goes towards that, and it's got its key. I tell you, that just seems like so tight, you know? Alright. Oh, look how much easier this one came apart. Look at that. Do you see that? Right? I mean, the other side I had to pop it and bang it, and you know, this is a much better head. This thing is in much better shape. Remember, on the outside you have this as well. So you don't want to lose it. It's coming. Here it is. Ta-da! So there's the camshaft. But basically this is the driver's side, right? So that's how we took it apart. So there's the spring washer, the big key or spacer, and then your gear, right? Just like that. Then these just slide right off. Okay. Don't forget that part. And then they just keep coming off this way. I don't think you can go back the other way. You can, you know, this one here comes off. And I can move this one off, but this one here I couldn't get off that way. So I think they're tapered because you see see how much light this has slop in it. So these are tapered. So they can only go on one way, really, if you think about it, because it is tapered. We might overview all of them, but you know, nothing on here. Oh, it's hard to see what direction here. Let's change this. There we go. Now I can see. You know, I mean, it's not. This one's a little bit rough, right? It is. I grant you that. It's a little, it's rough, but I mean, it's nothing catches your fingernail or anything on any of these, I don't know what they call these, but you know, this is probably the worst looking one, kind of, but there's nothing that catches me, okay? And the same thing with this one. There's nothing catching anything, or you can see it looks, it really does look great. And we can look at the inside of each of those caps too. But I talked to the machinist, and he says he told me that I should do it myself, and he told me how to do it, and we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to actually bring this one into him, but I think it's fine. This is that one that had that little bit of, but you can't catch, you see the discoloration, but there's no way you can catch anything or anything like that. So it just needs a polishing, and that's what he showed me how to, or explained and everything. He's into Mercedes, and so I'm really kind of glad I found that guy. But that's something we're gonna do in a future video. I can look at him. I don't know if there's anything I can show you guys, but if you look inside there, right, you know, that was the main one on the end. The one, same thing. It looks just great. I probably don't even have to do anything at all, and I don't even know if you would. I'm going to ask him when I pick up the case. Yeah, they all are looking great. So this has a little bit of something. Let me see if there's any way. Where is it? It's right in here. You kind of see a little, just a little mark, but that's probably fine too. And this is the last one. And it has a little bit of a something there. Let's see if there's a way I can show you guys this. I don't know if you can see that. See that right there? It's right there. Other than that, it looks great. But you can see it's like a different color, right? Like it's wore. So I'm going to have him look at it because that looks worn to me. So let's go ahead and flip this over and get this board off. All right, now each valve will actually just come right on out. So what if I just move this a little bit this way and just lift it? There it is. Okay, and again, these look just fine. You can see it looks pretty good, right? It's not a buildup of carbon or anything really. It looks pretty good, really. I mean, these, obviously the heads have been done. I mean, the exhaust, of course, you're going to get some carbon, which we'll clean up when we reassemble it. Okay, so I'm going to take each one of these off. And I'm just going to break them loose. And remember, it was not easy. See, it's not easy, man. You guys know I'm always scared to do this. You know, some are easier than others, so it's weird, right? Now we're ready to go ahead, and I'm going to remove all this stuff as well. So you just put this thing on there, and I'm going to twist it and then pull. And that's it. And it pulls your seal right out beautifully. And then there's your bottom cap. And I think that's called a spring retainer or something. Let's just do it with this. Alright, so we've torn our head completely down except for our guides. And the way we check for that, from what I understand, is that normally the valve would come up this way. Right? It would just come up from the bottom and come up through there. But we're going to turn it around this way. And we're going to go in that same guide. And we're going to put it in the guide. And then feel for sloppiness. You know, and that feels pretty good. I don't know if that's tight or not, since I don't really know what I'm looking for exactly. But if all these feel about the same, then I'd say they're good because the car didn't leak oil. It didn't, I mean, as far as that goes. It leaked oil, but it didn't burn any oil. Okay, so this is the next valve. You know what? That's tighter than that one. So I'm gonna want to check that one again. Okay, yeah, it's about the same. See, it's even sucks when you pull it out. So I'd say that's a pretty good thing. That's without a seal or anything, right? So. Oh yeah, same thing. There's no wobble or there's nothing. Yep. Just as nice as that one. Nice. That's how it is. It's like, so these are great. Yep, 7B. Again, yeah, look at that. I mean, look, it's just, right? There's no way. It even holds itself up, so. Same thing. I mean, you know, see, don't even. These are beautiful. Gosh, I wish when they did this, they did time certs. They pulled both heads. Same thing. See that? I mean, gosh, that's beautiful. So there, we've torn the head completely down. We've checked the guides. These things are great. The only thing we're going to do now is we're going to just pull all these things off and clean up those surfaces, and we'll do the same thing with this and the same thing. Now, this is on the intake side. If you guys notice, you see all this carbon buildup. So this has something, I think, something to do with the EGR valve. But watch. See that? Alright, now what you have to also see is that there should this, you see, there's a hole. But sometimes that hole's okay. Oh, that hole's okay. On the other block, the one was completely clogged. But we have to get all those cleaned out as best we can, everything we can. You can see it's actually quite thick. And here, there's even some gasket material on here which, you know, is part of the problem. So it's a rubbery material, so it's it's something to do with silicone or something. But we're going to make sure we get all that kind of stuff out. We don't want to have any kind of interference like that. And I'll break all this down like this, clean it. That is as far as we are going to go on this head. There's really nothing more that needs to be done. No machining is required. Now, you could go ahead and run a, I don't have one, but you could run a straight edge across there. I have a, I mean, it says it's a straight edge, but it's not like those thick straight edges. You know, that's kind of what you need. You need a thick, one of those thick metal, they sell them. I'd say everything's going to be great on this head. We didn't have any leakage between the cylinders. We can see all that kind of stuff just by looking at it. This head is in premium condition, especially in comparison with the head on the other side, and that is the head that they bought as a replacement. And this is an old original one, which is in much better condition. So I think that probably concludes that, but we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at what we did. I just wanted to show you guys that I have everything in a box, and they're all labeled. Everything's labeled like this is 5A, and you guys know how I did that. And here's a complete valve assembly. So you've got your valve, your bottom retainer, your seal, inner spring, outer spring, then your top cap, and then your retainer things there, and then that's the top that goes to the you know, that's loose, that just sits on the top. After you get it all assembled, it sits on there for the rocker arm, and then there's that part of the rocker arm. And then here's your cam, that's your bolt spring washer, and your big washer there, and then your gear, there's your inner washer, and then that's got your timing mark on it. You have to be careful when you put that back together so your timing's right. And then those are all our caps. And those are the bolts. See how they have their own name? Right, left. And there's your cam that we've taken off. And the head. So that is what we just completed. Now, I'm not going to just start to reassemble this. I had to take it all apart to see exactly what I needed. So now I need to order parts. The only thing I'm going to order are seals, which I knew I was going to have to do anyways. But we're going to go ahead and get some seals. But there's a lot of things I need to get parts for so we can start reassembling this vehicle. So I'm going to have to work on that as well. And we have to clean these heads up, but we're not going to assemble anything until we're ready to assemble everything. That's right. We're not going to assemble anything until we're ready to assemble everything. You know, so now that you guys have seen this video, you see it's just, you know, just as terrible as all the other videos that I have made. Very stressful. Oh my goodness, I showed you every single nut and bolt, I know. The details are there for me because I've never done this before. Disclaimer. I have never taken an engine out of a car. I've never torn an engine apart. And I certainly have never disassembled a cylinder, or I should say a head before, and pulled out valves and all the other stuff. Now, let's get back on track, because as you notice, I try to just get to the point, because I see myself rambling in the videos, and you guys don't want to hear that. You just want to see things getting done. And you can make things as fast as you want. And yes, the block is at the machinist. Let me tell you what happened. I have contacted every single machinist I can think of, or I could find. I called beamer places. You guys already know the story if you've watched my other videos. So finally I found a place that was kind of close by, and they said, oh yeah, we can do all that, you know, bring your block on over. And I says, yeah, now you guys realize, you know, this is an old Mercedes, you know, and it's an alusil block, and, you know, I've contacted a lot of places, and as soon as I say Mercedes, they all choke. And the guy says, "Oh, no, we can do it." I brought my heads and everything with me, the one head. I brought that one terrible head. I get there, and the guy comes out, the machinist, he goes and gets the machinist guy, he comes out, and he goes and he looks at my engine, and he taps on the cylinder wall, and he goes, "What kind of material is this?" He says, "Oh, I don't have any of the tools for this." And he goes, "I can put a liner in there, but," he says, "I can't do any of the," he says, "I think you have to use Nicosil and all this other stuff." So I'm going, okay. So then he looks at that head and he goes, "Oh yeah," he says, "that's going to cost you about $800. We'll TIG weld it and all that other stuff. And we can fix that right up for you and do a complete valve job and everything for about $800. Let's leave it at that. If we can't repair my bottom end, why am I going to spend money on my top end? Why would I do that? Find a machinist, and come to find out, he's had a 560 SEL, and he's had 380, I think. I can't remember what it is, but a couple of them, and he's got pictures, so I already know, once a Mercedes guy, you're kind of proud if you can take one apart and put it back together, let me tell you, because they are a nightmare. And that's the reason why no one does it. But he took his dash off and he says, "I've got pictures and everything." I says, "Look, I got to come and meet you." So I went down there with my block and everything. So now here is night and day. I don't even know where I stand right now, because I showed him the cylinder block and he goes, "Okay." And I says, "And what about, the cylinder?" And he gets up there in my truck and he looks around over there and he checks it all out, and I don't know, takes out an instrument or something. He goes, "Just put it all back together." He says, "You're not going to be driving this every single day and just pounding on it, are you?" He says, "You want it for a nice pleasure drive and everything." He says, "Look, you're not going to get any blow-by. There's nothing wrong with that. You're going to be just fine with that scratch." He says, "It's unfortunate, and it's not 100%, but," he says, you will not notice any problems with that cylinder." And so right away, I'm feeling really good, right? And so then I says, "Wow," I says, "You've really made me feel good after 2 months of this agony so far." I thought, but, the other guy tells me, "Oh, that needs to have that replaced," but they don't do it. This guy tells me also that they don't have he can sleeve it, but he doesn't have the tools for this the old honing process. He says he got rid of them tools a long time ago. He says, most people, they don't even have them. So if they do them, they make them on their own, right? So he says, "So I don't have the tools for that." But anyways, on the head, he looks at the head and he goes, "Yeah," he says, "I'd just go ahead and put it right back on. And he says, "Get a gasket on there." He says, "Just put it back together." He says, "You'll be fine." I go, "Really?" Because I'm amazed at this point. I'm going to be fine. I still don't believe I'm going to be fine. So, but I told him, I says, "Okay, okay, that's great." But I didn't know how to take my cams and all that kind of stuff apart, really. I really didn't know. So he told me how to do all that, right? So I came back home and I took all that stuff apart. That's when I finished the video, and you heard me say in the video, the machinist said I could do, yeah, that's right, because he didn't see it all apart yet. But now I have everything all apart. I'm telling you, I think the bearings, I don't know what do they call those things? Those camshaft bearings. So I think they're shot. I think that's actually like a bearing, an insert that goes in there, I think. Because I kind of did a little bit of research, since I did that. This is like just yesterday, and now it's today, I'm going after this, trying to figure it all down. But if you buy the whole camshaft bearing, it says camshaft tower with bearings, okay? That costs about $600 a side, right? But then I find out they have bearings for about $95. So obviously these bearings can be put in there, so as long as your camshaft towers are fine, you can at least get bearings. So I think that's a must. And then secondly, we need to make sure which bearings. There's two different ones, but we have to have the crankshaft down, I mean the camshaft. I got to bring that camshaft into them. I need them to really look at it. And I'm also concerned about the possible warpage on that head. I want to look at it a lot closer now that I have everything broken down. Right? I'm going to actually pay him for his time in cash. Right there in front of him, I'm just going to hand him $100 and say, look, I'm not here to waste your time. I value your time. You know, and that's how I'm going to approach it, because these guys have more work than they can deal with right now. Everybody's fixing cars and not buying them, or new. So, the guy, he likes Mercedes. He's done Mercedes, and I saw all the engines that they're doing. They do nice cars. He's done Ferraris and Maseratis and all this kind of stuff, and been in business for 47 years. I value his opinion way over my opinion, so quite right. Oh, another thing the guy told me, he says, most guys, he says, they do time certs on this. Wow, this guy's actually coming out and presenting that information to me, and that's right. Most people will put time certs in this. And he says, I wouldn't do it. He says, I took the heads off my 5.8 at 60, and he says, I put them back on. He says, this is how you do it. He says, once you take off all your bolts and everything, he says, run a nice clean tap through every single one of those holes and make sure that everything's a nice clean tap. He says, as long as it wasn't overheated, because most times the reason for that is because the engine had been overheated, which we may have, but the engine's been overheated and things like that. There's an issue. They don't just pop out, right? The heat is what really does it. But he said he did it to his and he didn't have an issue. But he says what could happen though is that when I put it together, he says make sure you put it together on the stand, but put it together, that's when you could actually do it. And he says then he'll time cert that one, whatever breaks, rather than go in there and time cert everything for no reason. You don't need to unless you have to. So, I'm kind of on board with a lot of that. I don't like the fact that if you do that, now you got to pull the heads off, you got to buy gaskets. I didn't look at the price of the gaskets, but I don't think they're cheap either, right? So, we're going to have to work all that stuff out. I guarantee at some point we're going to reassemble it. I don't know when and how, but it's going to happen. Oh, when I first started this, it says, we're not going to assemble this until, we're ready to assemble everything. And the reason for that is I see builders, actual builders who do this for a living all the time. They often find that there's two ways to build an engine. You can build it, boom, 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 you're an expert, and you put it right back together. What guys will usually use just motor oil as their lubricant as they put that together. But if you're in a shop, or you're taking your time, you want to be really efficient and all that, you're going to use an assembly lube, right? So, because it stays on the part longer, it sticks to it when it's sitting there and hanging there. But if you take too long, then that stuff also just completely dissipates. And if you used oil on anything, that oil is probably also gone. So I want to make sure I have everything so I can at least get all these main components together as you assemble it, right? When I have the bottom end here, that bottom end's got to be put together. So everything's sealed up and you're done. And then we'll move up and eventually we kind of put it together. So I have to make sure I have everything on hand as we start assembling this, because we don't want to have a long period of time in the assembly process before we can get it into the cars, started and driven. And we're going to coordinate with the guy in California at Sun Valley Mercedes Transmissions. He's also kind of keeping track of this whole process. So, hey, thumbs up to that guy. I appreciate him storing my transmission for me. I told him I don't have any place to put it. So heads up to him and, and everybody who's helping me. And all my subscribers, I really appreciate it. Get the word out. Obviously, all this stuff is going to cost me money. I mean, I still don't know where I'm at. You already know I've spent thousands. If you can help that, do. If you can't, I understand. I wouldn't help me. I don't help anybody. That's not true. I do. I try when I can, and I just don't when I can't. And you guys are the same way. So, hopefully, you know, this is going to be here and we start putting that baby together, because that's going to, you know, this is my last hurrah. So I have to put this thing together. It has to start. I can't go out of this life with this, you know, with this whole series not being done. So, all right, guys. Until the next one, I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen next, but it's probably going to be my experience with the machinist. So, all right. Talk to you guys later.